My name is Calandra Jenkins. I'm an engineer at AJA Management and Technical Services. I'm here with Wagner Engineering, and we are here to bring you the Lynch Creek Pearl River Watershed Plan Environmental Assessment. The purpose of this meeting is to receive input on the alternatives for flood damage reduction in the Lynch Creek Pearl River Watershed. Our key players are NRCS, who this project was funded by. The sponsors are the Hinds County Board of Supervisors in partnership with Mississippi Soil and Water Conservation Commission. We don't have a representative from them tonight, but we do have someone from NRCS, T. Duncan, and our technical contractor team colleagues are Bill McDonald, Alex Bohannon, and Charna Mosley. The purpose of the watershed plan is to reduce the damages from flooding in the high-risk areas of the Lynch Creek Pearl River watershed. And we are here, the plan is to reduce the amount of flood water and to reduce the depth of flood water coming into homes and damaging properties. This is the extent and the boundaries of the Lynch Creek Pearl River watershed. It extends all the way from the Queens to the north, and it drains into the Pearl River. Tonight we're going to discuss the alternatives or the solutions we've come up with to reduce the flood damages and the flood levels at the high-risk areas. If you have your packet, this is what I'll be going by. The alternatives are labeled, and the map that the numbers correspond with are on the 4th page. And then there's a blow-up of that area also on the last page, and we have the mounted maps for you to take a look at as well. Now, the baseline of our alternatives stem from the no action plan. What happens if we don't do anything in the watershed, and what that would look like? And all our structural and non-structural alternatives are compared to that. And it's a baseline to measure benefits and impacts of alternative solutions. The types of action alternatives that will be taken, they will either remove or reduce the flood water before it creates risk to properties. They will get the flood water out of the risk areas faster, or they will remove properties from the areas of risk. Our first set of alternatives are structural alternatives, and they are 2 possible flood storage dry dams in the northeastern part of the watershed. And they're located, number 3 is located at the corner of Nimitz and McCain Avenue, and the other one is located just north of the Camelot Street Apartments. And they are small dry dams, 10 to 50 feet an acre, and their purpose is to reduce the peak flood flows. Some permanent acquisition will be necessary. Some easements, flood easements will be necessary, and it will provide reduction in critical areas. So the purpose of the detention is to hold water back so that it can slowly release when there's major flood events. So it will prevent a lot of water from coming down the creek from the Malone Drive, Camelot, Metairie area. Those people should receive a reduction in the amount of flood water that's coming down to their area.
So we can have an opportunity to ask questions to
Sure, you can ask questions now, but I'll heard what you want to.
on that, on that one, we're looking at a structure alternative, a retention pond. Where exactly would that be located?
The corner of McCain and Nimitz.
Number 2?
No, the one at number 2 is right above the open space above Camelot Apartments. So it's at St. Charles, and then there's a strip of open area right at St. Charles.
So that's behind the Western Plaza
Yes.
shopping center. And how long of a period would that be?
I think the Nimitz area is about 42 acres, and the smaller one is about 15.
That smaller area too is just really more than a punch. It's more of a floodway preservation. You got that wide
area there now. It's basically just preserving that area so that the water can overflow into that area and not damage other structures.
Retention area number 3, would that impact any communities up there?
No, currently that is, forest area. It's all wood, trees.
What's the intersection of number 3 again?
McCain and Nimitz.
Okay,
If
that's
you look on
number,
your map, it's the top green area.
okay, and what's the, intersection for number 2?
Number 2 is behind Western Plaza, south of St. Charles, just above Camelot.
Would both of these be in effect, or just an option for?
It's an option, either 3 or 2 or both. The next structure alternative will be channel improvements, and that will be just above St. Charles, all the way to Lynch Street. And also channel improvements will be on the east side of, well, actually it'll be near Valley Street. There's an unknown tributary along Valley Street, and it'll run from Valley Street, from Hill Avenue, all the way to the confluence just below Highway 80. And if you look on your map, it'll come all the way from Hill Avenue down to just below Highway 80.
Are we looking at any reduction of channelization within that area by WO High School? So are we looking at any reduction to any flood events over that area?
Yes, I haven't gotten there yet.
Councilman Harvey, can you speak up just when you're asking questions just a little bit?
Yes,
So then the people back here can kind of hear what you're asking.
Thank you.
So the positives of this structural alternative, of these structural alternatives, is that it will reduce flood reduction from 1/2 foot to 1.5 feet. And for those who don't know, a channel improvement really means, currently, the channels are overgrown, they have a lot of sedimentation, they have a lot of debris in the channels, they're clogged with various items and various natural vegetation. And what we wanted to do is to look this way so that it'll increase the capacity of water flowing through the channel. And it'll hold more so it won't overtop the banks, which is currently what's happening in the Metairie, Malone Drive, and the areas down by Jim Hill. The next alternative will be a flood wall, and it extends from it'll be south of the detention area that we talked about, just below, just above Camelot to Robinson, and then again from Robinson to 1,200 feet south of Robinson. And then it'll pick up again towards Shepherd's Gym all the way down to Highway 80. Shepherd's Park all the way down to Highway 80. And the flood wall looks like this. It'll be 10 feet in total length. It'll probably be about 5 feet that you will actually see. And it is expected to have a reduction of 1 to 2 feet in flood waters. And it will reduce the flood depth in critical areas. Per our requirements, we have to offer non-structural alternatives. And our non-structural alternatives, the first one is reclamation. The last map shows a green area. What we are thinking is to reclaim the areas that have been abandoned, such as the area south of Highway 80. It's an old abandoned park or something like that, but the creek currently is flowing underneath the abandoned property. So what we are thinking is to bust that up and allow the creek to flow freely, and it will be able to catch water as it flows on down to the areas downstream of the creek. The other non-structural alternative is the voluntary floodplain buyout. And those areas in orange, would be able to, take advantage of the voluntary floodplain buyout. And it focuses on the area most at risk of flooding, which is the Camelot Apartments, the people located off of Metairie, closest to the creek, the people in Hemingway Circle and the neighborhood above Hemingway Circle on the backside, and those, right around, on the other side of Lynch Street. No, it's just all those people on the north side of the creek. And it will be, acquisition at fair market value, relocation provision provided, property converted to permanent conservation easement, meaning that no development will be done in that area if they choose to take advantage of the buyout. Also, it could be combined with other measures. So everything that we've talked about today could be either singular or they could work in tandem to get the most benefit for the people in the flood prone area. And here is the cost associated with each alternative. And you have a copy of that in your packet as well.
It's this page right here.
Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I didn't hear Casa Grande Circle mentioned. It is between,
Across from Party.
no, well, yeah, I guess you could say that. But it's right between the police academy and Westland Place. It's between St. Charles and Robinson.
What's the apartments over there?
No, it's where Dora lives and, some other people.
It's on the, is it on the east side of, Bobby Rush?
The channel improvements that's happening,
West side.
the channel improvements from St. Charles all the way down to Lynch Street is expected to take care of that area. It will reduce flood levels in that area. You can't see it on this map, but it's the area just above the green.
Right. And they'll be able to, after.
Oh, yeah, you can see it on this map.
Yeah, it's up here.
Yes, sir.
You said that, so the retention wall, if you do utilize the retention wall, you won't necessarily have to do a lot of the buyback or the water acquisition, so is that a correct statement? I'm just trying to get clarity.
Well, there will be some acquisition because that land currently, we're not, I'm sure someone owns that land. So to build that flood wall, we will have to acquire that land.
But to your question, the idea is if you do one option, then maybe you don't have to do the other. In other words, the voluntary buyout would be in lieu of building something. Correct. But as Calandra mentioned, any of these potentially could be combined with other ones, just to get the most benefit, to try to optimize the cost, get the most for the cost.
I was looking at for in terms of like the less, the most, if Bakery above.
Right, exactly.
And the less, you have to deal with trying to buy out.
That's right. And they all have advantages and disadvantages, and you have to sort of trade those off.
Which of these options provide the maximum amount of flood reduction as you go past, after we come down Lynch Creek, before you get to Western Plaza? Which one of those options seems to provide the most amount of flood reduction?
Well, the flood wall, the structural flood protection wall, that would contain the flood, that would contain the water in the channel. And so, strictly speaking, that would give the most protection because you're containing the flood flow. Now, that doesn't address, you're always going to have street flooding and flooding, localized flash flooding and that kind of thing. But the wall, a physical barrier like that, give you the most, protection because it's containing the flow in the channel.
Okay. Another question, which would provide better long-term sustainability? In other words, to keep the city from having to come back in and clean and do other things, which provide for that?
Well, the city gonna have to always clean.
Well, but I'm sure some of these options may be better than others. I'm just looking for sustainability. We don't have a great record for its clean out. So is there any option that would provide more benefits or is minimizing the amount of maintenance that has to be done that can cause problems? I guess the flood walls would in fact still protect, even if you had vegetation and other stuff to grow up.
Right. The fact of the matter is, the channels are always going to need to be maintained periodically, because that's to free obstructions and to maximize the carrying capacity of that channel. Whether you build a flood wall, the tendency, it kind of takes the channel out of sight, and the tendency is forget about what's between those walls. If you go and thoroughly clean the channel and then maybe reshape it and reline it, over time, you're still going to have to maintain it. But that is perhaps a better channel for, a better option for actually protecting the channel. As far as sustainability, the idea behind reclamation, the idea is well, let me back up. Part of the problem is that through the decades, the floodway of Lynch Creek and all of our creeks has been developed, encroached upon. And so there are places where there's building right up to the bank of the creek. So if there are places that could be reclaimed, properties that are underutilized or no longer in use, then we can go through there and clear those and restore the land cover to the more of a natural condition, and actually let the floodway function as it needs to function. That's probably the most sustainable of all of those options, because that's actually returning the natural floodway to the way that it wants to function.
Because right now in our area, our housing market is very depressed. Have you considered another way of evaluating property value other than fair market value? Because in reality, that will not net an owner-occupied unit enough funding to secure somewhere else to live within their budget or within what they can afford, because our market is so depressed right now.
Well, we haven't gone into the depth about how it will be assessed. We know that the fair market value is one way. I don't know if they'll go by the property assessment. But
Because this is federally funded, then any acquisition has to follow the Uniform Relocation and Acquisition Act, and that lays out the terms as far as how you assess and value properties. Now, there are other things in addition to the outright purchase price. There potentially could be other things that could be offered, relocation, stipends or incentives and things like that. And so, yes, we want to be as creative as possible within the allowance of the federal law and guidelines, so that affected homeowners can get the most value possible.
Yeah, the URA does allow for that in depressed markets, because you won't make that owner-occupied unit whole without some other kind of valuation other than fair market value.
We would absolutely follow those terms, whatever we can accomplish within those guidelines. We absolutely will do.
Have you broken this map up into maybe zones where you can use different alternatives in different areas, or basically just this is it? And for instance, I know the folks over around Hemingway Circle may be really interested in the flood walls or protection walls because that is the reality. Whereas some other area may benefit from one of the other alternatives.
And that's, yes, that's a very good point, but to that point, typically, we look for combinations of things that can address, I mean, this is a big flood, this is a big watershed, and there's not just one problem, or one problem area, so ideally, we find a combination of alternatives that address, address the issues in different locations.
All right, we know the flood wall is not gonna help the people over there off of Watershed. So it'll be, maybe the flood wall, maybe the channel improvement on Valley, maybe a detention pond. It could be, a combination. What you say, a combination of alternatives.
Those three things would help. And see, the fact of the matter is, for years and at a time, the management of these areas has just gone complete. That's one of the biggest problems. And then with this particular situation, Town Creek and the other creeks that are involved, because all of this water that's here comes to our side of the town. I'm up in northeast Jackson where it floods at basically, and it goes into the Pearl River. Now, if all of that is maintained and fixed at a feasible, reasonable way that the Corps already knows about and they're trying to avoid, we wouldn't even be going through all of this right here now. And see, this is what gets us. We sit here and us citizens, and we just let them just do everything to us, and it stops at this point in time now. And all of these options we talking about putting on the table, they've been on the table for over 40-some years, 47 to be more, to be exact. And it's just time now for all of this to stop and to cease, and somebody needs to come in here with a comprehensive plan still from the start, which was initially brought, even including the watersheds, and with the creeks and the tributaries that need to be fixed, and they need to be fixed now, and they can be resolved. Nobody has to leave their home or sell their home if there is a buyout on the table, because one time the buyout was on the table, then the buyout wasn't on the table. Now I'm assuming that the buyouts are on the table again?
The buyout is just a non-structural option that we have to go by because it's a requirement. You have to have a structural alternative and you have to have a non-structural alternative. And the buyout is on the table just like the reclamation is on the table. So it's not necessarily that we're enforcing that or going to do it, it's just an option. All of these are just options. And we're trying to do what's best to get the most benefit.
So how does this meeting help? Just to introduce these alternatives, or do we have direct input to you all on which ones we think are maybe the best?
You have direct input. In your packet is included a comment form. And you can let us know which alternative you prefer, which alternative you don't like, which combination of alternatives you prefer, and let us know. You can send it to us via email, you can mail it, or you can fill that form out on the website. The purpose of tonight's meeting was to let you know what the alternatives were, give an explanation of what they were going to do for certain areas, and to get input from you as to which ones you all prefer.
And particularly if you have concern about one or more, any particular concerns, questions, that's what we really.
Hold on one second, let her ask her question.
It seems like the types of alternatives you offer could be applied in other areas than where you show them on a map here. And for instance, if people happen to like the idea of a wall, what about the fact that the water's starting up here, and if you just did the wall, all these people would still get flooded, and somehow the wall down here might have a good effect. But so it seems to me, for one thing, that you really need to start at the top, at the beginning of the creek, and figure out how to keep it from going all the rest of the way down. And if you can actually do that close to 100% at the top, then you don't have to think about the other things so much. I don't know if that's possible, but you're the folks who would have the figures to learn that. And for instance, you've got an area up here to catch the water storage. What if you dug it out another 10 feet or 20 feet or whatever? What difference would that make? Would it really keep it from all going down here?
You have
Like a lot of those questions.
Right, you have a good point, and that's what we try to do with the storage detention ponds that we put in the northern part of the watershed. But there are areas that are flooding now that need protection. So that's why we thought of the detention in addition to the flood walls for the people who are being flooded now, because the people up north aren't really being flooded at this point.
You may want to say that the Queens, coming from the Queens.
Yes,
map.
yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
about that.
Oh, the north of the watershed,
Yeah.
I apologize, up in this area.
The Queens North,
Yeah.
not your north.
Within the watershed.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So, right now it's just putting a plan together, right? Obviously, there's some funding to do all this research and planning. What, is there funding once a plan is decided to do the work, or are we just talking about, hey, I'm just asking, is there money to do the work that needs to be done?
Well, this is, you're asking about funds? Or you're
Well, I'm just
asking
saying, is there
about-
money to do these things once we decide, here's the plan? That's what I'm
Yes,
asking.
there's 18 million that's gonna be spread out amongst 4 watersheds.
Okay.
And that's Lynch Creek, including Hanging Moss, including Upper Bogachilla, and including Lake Ridgelia, which is the Byram area.
So is there enough money to do these options? If it's gonna be split between, I'm sorry, I didn't raise my hand or nothing, I'm thinking out loud.
There won't be enough to do everything, no. However, the objective also was to do what we can with the funds we have, and also this plan could be used for the county to go and get money to do the rest of the work that's included in the plan.
So,
Give me the 4 areas again, please.
The 4 watersheds?
Yes.
Lake Ridgelia, which is Byram, Upper Bogachilla, which is Presidential Hills, Pocahontas area, Hanging Moss, which is North Jackson, well, the west side of North Jackson, well, it's North Jackson, and Lynch Creek.
so we're talking roughly $4.5 million.
If it's split evenly. Some
Okay.
might take more, some might take less.
Okay, but initially it started out to be around, what, 24? Okay, how did it get down to 18 all of a sudden?
I don't know what it was.
I don't know if T has any knowledge or input on funding or anything. Yes. That's what we understand. That's what we've been told, is that that for construction, there's $18 million allocated for the 4 watersheds.
And if that's a concern, by all means, just write that in your comments, because it seems like a number of you all are concerned about that. That could be something that you can add on the comments.
Can you walk us through
Yes,
that?
ma'am.
Ma'am, I guess, I'm trying to read this little map and it's very difficult for me, but I did find Casa Grande Circle. And if you'll go to your map, to the right of number 2, can you use the screen map?
But I know the area you're talking about.
Right, but the people in here need to sort of see it to be able to help me. So when I look almost directly across from number 2, see, that's not gonna help me. That's why I was asking for the screen map, so we can all see it. But when I look directly to the right of number 2, then I think I see Casa Grande Circle.
That is correct.
Okay, so what is this?
The green line,
well, the whole green area with the little nets and whatever, what is that called?
The netted area is the flood detention pond. It's a dry dam, it's Camelot Apartments, the base of the storage area that we just discussed, and it will go all the way down 1,200 feet from there, and then from, let me see, the channel widening will pick up in the middle of Hemingway Circle and take it down past John R. Lynch to Shepherd's Gym. So by widening and restoring the channel and bank stabilization, it's going to prevent water from coming out the channel.
Okay. Have you done any, I don't know what you call it, I just call it putting a camera right there and looking at the pipes. I don't know what kind of plans were in place when these subdivisions were built, but a part of me believes that the pipes or whatever may not have been large enough to handle what's going on. So what are you looking at there to see the condition of the pipes?
This project will not address the
But
drainage system.
if that is part of the problem, I don't know how you could come up with an assessment of how to eliminate the flooding if part of it is because of the infrastructure there. So it just seems just logical from my little vantage point that that would have to be a part of it. There's a name for that, and I forget what you call it. But Jackson State does have some people over there that know how to look under the ground, and it's some name for it. The other area that concerns me is Jim Hill. We attempted to do a project around Jim Hill to help with the flooding, but there was some team, I'm just calling names, it's probably not correct. I'm gonna say they was from Oregon. Probably wasn't, that's probably not the right name. But this project was going to try to help Jim Hill. And so what's being done right around Jim Hill? Is there a retention pond or
From
something?
Shepherd's Gym to just past Highway 80 is going to be a flood wall there. So the water will stay within a channel to protect Jim Hill from getting any water from the channel.
Okay, and the graveyards we have, just really one little part, the street splits it, because it gets so much flooding until bodies almost come up sometimes.
Well, like I said, the flood wall is to keep the water within the channel.
Okay.
So it's not supposed to come out of the channel. And on the other side of Jim Hill, we are proposing channel improvements from Hill Avenue all the way past Highway 80.
Okay, so I would ask as a sidebar that we see if we can obtain that report and sort of let you all look at it, because what we get tired of, and we get so tired of people getting planning money, but then we don't have implementation money. And we will have been to meeting after meeting after meeting, and then all we have is the dry hopes and dreams of what never comes to fruition. But this is very personal for people. So when people come from these different neighborhoods, they need to see and understand how it's going to impact them. And so those are my concerns, just from having worked in the community for so many years and having gone through this.
Well, let me see if I can explain it a little better. These alternatives, we won't be able to do all of these. We are going to do what we feel gives the most benefit to the areas at risk, which are Jim Hill and
Camelot Apartments.
Camelot and Malone Drive area. After we get those funds to do that work, we will go into design, and then after design, we'll go into construction. The parts that's not done, it will be up to the county to take this plan and try to get funding to make sure that those other alternatives that we suggested get completed.
Malone is in the middle of the Hemingway. It's not on the back wall.
I didn't mean to say Malone. I meant Hemingway Circle. I meant Hemingway Circle.
And then we didn't mention the other neighborhood
Metairie,
Yes,
it's included.
okay.
I have a question here, and I'm looking at the money side of things.
Sure.
I'm interested because if money's not there, then what are we gonna do? And just that flood wall around Jim Hill, we're looking at $3 to $4 million. Okay, and then, if we did that, then that's gonna take up a lot of our money just for that project. And then if we go up to Hemway Circle, that's another. So how are we going to, are you asking us to, you know, pick one of these areas or what? Because we don't have enough money.
Right.
There's not enough money here. And I see we have a supervisor in the back, and she may want to comment on the county. Yeah, on the county too. So again, it may get back to one of these things of, okay, this is a great ideas and stuff, but you know, what are we going to do?
And a lot of this stuff can be they don't have enough money also. So this is like the, let's say for instance, the channel improvements along the tributary on Valley Street. We might not be able to do all of it, but we probably can cut it down to the section just right beside Jim Hill. Or we might be able to do not 2 retention ponds, we might be able to do 1. Yes, ma'am.
So since the money has to be split among 4 watersheds,
These are there. But the point of it is, that's why I asked the lady, how did we go from 24 to 18 all of a sudden that quick? I mean, monies are diminishing. But other counties they get their monies and they lay them out. And one of the biggest reasons our problem is here in Hinds County, we have no city planners. We have there's a lot of lacking. We don't have people that can get in here. City engineers, that lady was talking about, the people looking under the ground, the geo surveyors. People like them. Hinds County, the city of Jackson, don't have these things. We are missing out on a lot of resources, but these federal dollars are rolling in here. And when people take these monies and they misuse them and put them in the wrong place, did y'all not hear Mr. Graham say back here a couple of months ago, we got this astronomical amount of money, but we don't know what to do with the money. A couple of months before that, we didn't have the money, but now all of a sudden we have the monies. So the monies are here. They just need to be utilized properly and appropriately.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to discuss kind of the impact on Jim Hill. So are you going to be taking some of the land on option number 5 with the flood walls? And Isabel also.
Very minimal. I mean, channel improvements can take place within the existing channel. Flood walls may require, depending on how wide that existing channel is, flood walls may require a little bit of, permanent easement.
But for the most part, it's along the banks of that creek.
That's right.
It's not necessarily taking away property or land from the schools.
Normally it wouldn't impact.
Well, let me answer that question. We can't mess with the schools. We can't, I mean, that's one of our resources that we can't impact. We can't impact schools, public facilities like that.
The property.
Have you determined, and is there a way to determine whether the flooding on the lower part on the map is from water that comes from the sky on that land or comes from someplace above it?
It's both. I mean, every square foot within the watershed is impacted by rain. But every square foot, and it's also impacts every square foot below it. So water flows, this is going to sound smart alecky, but water flows downhill, right? So wherever water flows, it's going to steadily accumulate and move downhill. So every point downstream along that creek receives flow from upstream. So up in the Queens area, in the very top of the watershed, water from there ultimately flows all the way to the Pearl. Some of it some of it absorbs into the ground, some of it evaporates, some of it's otherwise contained, but water, some of that water makes it all the way to the pearl. So to your question, yes, for the most part, we can tell in any particular rain event, in a particular location, what water is impacting that area the most. Is it just localized rainfall, localized drainage, or is it flood water from up above? And the more extreme the rain events get, the more that water comes from above. So yes, that's part of what we look at, is trying to determine where, at any particular time, where is that water coming from? The water that's causing the problems, where is it originating, and how can we best deal with that?
Time frame. Is there a time frame on doing something? It's not enough money to do all 4 of them, or all 4 of them will get some money?
All 4 of them will get some money.
Okay. Now, one of the points that we tried to make with the other study that was being done is that it shouldn't be study here and a study there. It should have been a comprehensive study because, for instance, in the neighborhood where we are, the Country Park neighborhood, now, our neighborhood runs right off of John R. Lynch Street, okay? People are in the 1100 block, if they don't outright own their home, they have to have flood insurance, okay? My house is right on the corner of the 1000 block. 900 block is just right there. I don't have to have flood insurance. But people in the 1100 block have to have flood insurance. So are any of these improvements going to help how they're zoned for flood stuff?
It should.
That's potentially they could. That would be a longer term, more indirect benefit. That FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, regulates the flood insurance program. So, and they produce and maintain the maps that determine who is or isn't in the flood zone. So potentially, if something were built here and it was proven that it reduced the flood impact, then the local, in this case, it would have to be the city of Jackson, could go to FEMA and request that they remap those areas and reduce the flood zone and therefore reduce the flood insurance requirement. That's a long process, but that's how it would have to happen.
Okay, we have some projects that we're trying to do around John R. Lynch Street, so that's why I asked about the time frame. It's like, you know, what you all are doing could have a big impact on what we're trying to do around Jim Hill with the graveyards and what we're trying to do at John R. Lynch Street to make a grand entrance to Jackson State at the same time looking at climate change kind of things.
Well, this plan is due to NRCS on September 30th. Once we turn it into them, they will review it, they will make comments, they will submit those comments back to us, we will make changes, and that will go back and forth for a while. Then they will submit the plan to the National Water Management Center, which will go through a technical review, making sure that the hydrology and hydraulics and all those scientific reports have been completed. And then once they have come back and given us comments, we fix those comments, and then the plan is ready to be viewed. That goes for 30 days. Once that's over with, we can move into design, and that'll take about a year. After design, then we'll move into construction. So we're looking at about 2.5, 3 years.
Wow. There won't be any construction.
Research. So what area should be prioritized or has the most significant need and should be addressed?
All of them.
don't know if we can prioritize one over the other, but we know that, the areas that have been mentioned tonight are the areas, of course, I think when the Hinds County originally made the request for this assistance, they were focusing on the Camelot Apartments and the repetitive flooding there. But then, that spreads out, up Westland Plaza and then south, below Robinson and then even across Ellis and then down to Jim Hill.
I'm sorry.
Actually, the question is for you, Councilman.
Okay.
Is there any temporary short-term measures that the city is planning to just clean the creeks as is?
Well, during this last budget cycle, which ended last week, we did allocate money into the infrastructure program. Am I correct? That's correct. And so drainage was a part of that allocation of money for I'm not sure if it was personnel or just equipment or both. But the final question that was asked is this all you need? Okay. So the city council tried to vote to get the tools and the resources to get these things done. I'm more interested, and tonight, one other thing that we had going on from a city council standpoint is we authorized $40 million in bond. Now, that was supposed to cover roads and a bunch of other things, but part of the conversation was drainage too. I'm a bit concerned about this in the fact that we don't have all the parties here telling us how we're going to pay for it. Now, we can say, well, we're going to fix this part, well, you'll wait on that part, and so forth. But it's going to, like Dr. Bridges mentioned, it's going to take a comprehensive plan. We need to fix Lynch Creek, period. And this little part over here, or a little wall there, that's more of this thing that we've been going through. And then 3 years out, just for that, and I'm not blaming this company because you guys, you're doing what you've been told to do. But we as citizens here, we need protection all along that Lynch Creek. And I really like to defer to the county supervisor for her comments because it's going to take the city, the state even, okay, federal government, Benny Thompson. I'd like to see him at our meetings. I'd like to see a state representative at our meetings. I'd like to see the county at the meetings, and let's ask them those questions. Where can we get this funding from? Because I'm looking at this and the money's not adding up. It's not.
So first, I do think we need a plan because we can have all the people in the room, and if we don't have this comprehensive plan of these options, and you go back and run the engineering on it, and then start getting involved.
Well, I think that they've done a fairly good job of coming up with those options and stuff, but we can't afford this.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but right now it's just a bunch of options. I'm not
Yes,
hurting your
okay.
feelings. But they haven't told us exactly which of all of these combinations is the best one. So we do need that instead of, we can say we don't like it because of this, but from an engineering standpoint,
Right.
which is the best option and what is the final
Well, what I'm saying is we need
amount.
We need it fixed. And it's gonna take more than this $4 million to fix it. Okay, Supervisor?
Thank you. My name is Supervisor Dixon. How y'all doing today? The money that we have is already in the bank for this project that we're working on. And I do know for Jackson State is working on also a watershed project for Lynch Street up in that perspective. So we've been working on this project for a while, and we ain't gonna be able to fix all of it. But I know when I used to stay over here a long time ago, Metro Mountain Apartments, I know it flooded over here. This is centered around Lynch Street and Camelot. You do have other elected officials. You can get money like from your state, your senator. They can allocate money. If you go to the Capitol and look at all the bills, they allocate money all over. So I'm just saying for you is everybody can allocate money for the project where they live. When you go to the poll and you vote for folks, see what they're gonna bring back to the district. This is what we doing in District 3, Supervisor Dixon. You gotta be at the table. So this project is started, it's on the way, it's in the design phase, that's the engineer. So maybe later on, you can get some additional money that can come in with the city, the state, the county. The county already done started the first phase. We can get with your legislator, your senator, because they're not opt out. They have the same responsibility as us. Yeah, your city council right there, Lewis Wright is representing the mayor there, they all is here. And Lewis Wright know we cutting grass all over the city, we doing stuff everywhere. So this problem ain't just got here. You got a mayor, you got everybody. So we trying to start. Any questions?
Can y'all help repair some of these collapsed storm drains with that?
That's the city.
I mean, but I'm just saying, you know, you said we could ask.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you, you can ask. I'm saying when we started, anybody can get there. You got people, you got elected, been there 30, 40, 50 years. We just got that. We just got here. The Vern Hall just got here. This ain't just started. We are working on projects, and we are doing storm drain with our use tax money. We are working on it.
Can I give you an address?
No, you got to get with your supervisor in your area or your city council, your address.
Or you can give it to our chief administrative officer.
Yeah, that's the city.
I will.
Okay, but one thing that we did discuss during this budget that ended up last week, we voted on it, is we address storm drains in there and the maintenance of those storm drains. Now, look, a lot of this stuff is way, way overdue. I keep saying, I think what we need to do is we need to figure out ways to get this plan into the hands of the state, into the hands of Benny Thompson, our delegations. I think, and basically just to take this plan and say, hey, we don't have enough money, and we want this thing fixed, and we want a comprehensive fix. Appreciate the efforts of the county for starting it up, and for
when you start a plan, you don't have to stop at that design phase. Like when you do a budget, you start the design, you always can go back and ask for more money. You don't just quit once you start. That's just the design phase we're starting on. So they always can go back and ask for more money.
Now is the time to do it. Now is the time, and I'm not sure exactly who we can use or if a group of folks. But we need to take this plan and to make sure it gets in the hands. And we need to have our representatives, state representatives here at this meeting.
Wait now. Okay now, but I'm saying to you, just hold on 1 minute. Did we say there was a county project, am I right? We got the money for that. Your state representative, your house and city could already done got money for this area. They've been living in this area. So they could have been already got money. So EMA, you as a city council, EMA as the mayor, could have got money for this plan. Y'all all get 1% sales tax, y'all get use tax, y'all do a bond, we do it all. But I'm saying to you, we already in the design phase.
Right,
when you get with your legislator, this is from Washington, you get with them next year on the House and the Senate. When they go in session next year, you get with them next year. To do it anytime me as a supervisor can go get $3 million to bring to the county. I know for a fact that your representatives y'all vote for can look out for this district, House, and Senate.
Right. The only thing I was saying is one way to get them engaged is to have them in this meeting, okay? So that they can move forward. They can know that the community, everyone here is interested. And I don't see them at the meeting.
Well, you realize this is they got the invite, and this is a regular meeting. When we do a community meeting, they can be. But you said your representative. So if y'all got anything to put into it, there's a city council. Y'all got any money to put on this right here? There's a city and city council. Okay. You do. I know you do all this talking. Where your money?
Okay, right now, I don't know the answer to that question.
What I was just saying.
To be honest with you, but have you asked the city for that money? Or to be incorporated into this plan? That's all I'm saying.
We already got a plan as the county.
Okay.
We just saying to you, Lewis Wright is on my economic board. We talk all the time.
Okay, then he would know the answer to your question.
But I was saying, you said your house and your senate.
Well, I'm saying the state representatives, the state senators, we need to have them at this meeting so they can.
You realize too, it ain't just start flooding over here. That's what I'm saying. Right. So don't you think your state senator and your state house know about what's going on over here?
Mr. Burnett, let me just say before we start breaking up what the city is doing. The city has floated a bond of $30 million to help with drainage and flooding in the city of Jackson. And primarily, the administration would like to see starting in the Queens area, in the Presidential Hills area, the Lynch Creek area, and going on into the Pearl River. That money, and we're in the analysis phase of it now. We're gonna get with this Watershed team, I think it's scheduled for next week, to make sure that we're coordinating these efforts together, to make sure that what we're doing is not gonna interfere with the things that they're doing. And if what we're doing coincides with what they're doing, especially on Lynch Creek, the Western Plaza area, the 830 behind, right, Hardy School, River Hills, all, if that is being done, then we can use those funds that we had allocated into another area so that we can have a more comprehensive plan to deal with a lot of the drainage issues. The mayor is very concerned about the maintenance of these creeks. They've not been maintained. You know, trees are growing in them. There's been some rocks put in them, and grass is all growing in it. The city just has not had the money to do it. We can't do it all with the modernization funds that we're receiving. That's why we're doing a bond issue of some $30 to $40 million to make a big impact on our drainage. We're going to pay that back by using some of the modernization taxes that we receive on an annual basis. We get $13, $14 million a year for modernization, and part of that would go toward paying on this bond so that we can make an impact on drainage in the Jackson area.
Mr. Wright, can you explain, I know you deal with Public Works, what we allocated to clean up this year, if you can remember, because we voted on it and we were trying to, as a temporary fix.
Yeah.
I mean, the immediate thing is try to get some folks out there to clean up.
Right.
That and to clean up the storm water inlets so that water can quickly get off the streets and into the channel and down to the Pearl River.
I don't know the exact dollar amount, but it's a combination of not only personnel, but the equipment also, jet trucks, vacuum trucks to clean those drains out. When you have water accumulating on your street, there's a drainage problem. We send the jet truck out to blow it out so that we can get that water to flow much better.
Right. Yeah, that was one of those items. Another is we put in the budget for street sweepers.
Yes.
Okay, a machine and an addition to a tractor that you can use to sweep the streets. All these things go into the movement of water out of our city down the channels. Okay, and the infrastructure. The last question I asked the infrastructure manager before we concluded with him is this enough? Is this enough?
No, it is not.
No, and the reason, and I was specifically asking about equipment that he needed to clean stuff and personnel that he needed to clean stuff. The city has to get back in the business of doing this maintenance.
But y'all gotta stop contracting everything out.
Okay.
Y'all gotta stop subcontracting everything out.
Excuse me, I just wanted to say, thank you all for coming. You all are welcome to continue this conversation.
And meanwhile, my house continue to flood.
That's when it rains hard.
Meanwhile.
Make no sense.
I'm gonna show you.
Give me the address.
That's it. Thank you.